So is that your pink telly behind you?
That's one of them. This is Pinky 3. It's not my original. My original is more beat up, but it is one of them.
And how did you get to collect pink Telecasters?
Well, I got the one and the main one, Pinky, which is what my record is all about, is that guitar.
Yep.
I've had her for over 30 years, and it's not like I set out to collect pink Telecasters, but I have a couple more now because she's a little old to go on the road.
Right.
And Jimmy Vaughn gave me a second one and Billy gave me a third one. So I have 3 right now. This is the Billy right there.
Very nice. Very cool. So I see that it's mostly covers of songs, not necessarily big hits or anything, but things that are obviously songs that are important to you. So how did you go about choosing what you wanted to record for this record?
Well, just really stuff that I loved. It's that simple, but these are what we would call deep cuts, because there's blues and there's almost blues hits, So these are songs that people might not be aware of, and it's just great to dust them off and give them a new life, and people know about these artists again, or maybe look at the original recordings or whatever. But it's just because it's like more of an infatuation, inspiration kind of thing. I wasn't setting out to do covers particularly. Right. We just went in the studio and recorded live off the floor with the intention of just bringing in a whole bunch of songs that we loved, and then we picked our favorites.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I would have to say probably the best known song that I know is Okie Dokie Stomp, the old Clarence Gatemouth Brown tune, and that's back in '54 that came out. So yeah, you're definitely not cherry picking off the charts these days. I did love seeing a Frankie Lee Sims song in there, Boogie Real Low. Tell me, what's your relationship with that song like?
I went to a party, all we did was rock. At that party, he blowed his top again. He liked a boogie real low.
Well, that song has been, I've had, I had this album, this compilation album. I talk about it a lot now because I referred back to it. It's this compilation called Blues in D Natural that I've had since I was a teen. It was a pretty well-known compilation that came out, I think, in the 70s. And I got it when I was a teenager, probably in the 80s sometime. And I just have had this album my whole life, and that song's on there. In fact, we did a couple of songs off that album. And we did some Robert Nighthawk, and I've always been into Earl Hooker. So it's funny how these sort of seminal albums can, they just have this impact in your life. But that Frankie Lee Sims tunes was on it, and we also got pretty schooled in Frankie Lee Sims down here in Texas because he's such an important part of the blues guitar heritage.
I was doing a little research because I'm familiar with Frankie Lee, but I didn't know he was Lightning Slim's cousin. So there's always something new to learn.
Right. Was it Lightning Slim or Lightning Hopkins?
I think it's Lightning. I got Lightning Slim, but I may have misread. I have my notes that I can't read when I'm doing these things.
I've heard both. I got to look that up too, because I should know that. But I think I've heard both. But either one would be great because I love
absolutely. Angela Straley's got a couple of tunes on your album, so yeah. I know she's a local gal down there as well, right? Do you know her well?
I did. I mean, she was local. She's moved away. She's been out of here for a while, but she was a huge part of forming the Austin, Texas blues thing that kind of formed in the 70s.
Right.
I mean, there was blues acts obviously in and out of Austin before that, but it was in the 70s when they really developed this new sound, and she was a big part of that.
Yeah.
So wonderful singer, amazing singer, really deep. And her songs are awesome. I mean, I've just loved her as soon as I heard her. She's huge impact on me. Yeah.
But there are a couple of original tunes. There's one called Dallas Man that you've written. What can you tell me about that one?
Making all the sound that the world can understand. We
with the style, a little bit of the style of Frankie Lee Sims. But it was really about the guitar players out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or the ones that floated through there, and the whole history of that lineage from like Blind Lemon Jefferson on up. And,
right.
and these guys have been playing in Dallas, or floated through Dallas, or had this history with Dallas, or were from Dallas. And I could, Lightning Hopkins went through Dallas. Of course, Blind Lemon hung out in Deep Ellum. T-Bone Walker's from Oak Cliff. Freddie King's from the area. The Vaughn brothers are from Oak Cliff. I mean, it was just Anson Funderburg. You could just keep naming guitar players, and so it's kind of about that. It's just about my love of those guys.
Right, and the other original is there's an instrumental that kicks things off, but then there's Hurricane Girl. So, anything you can enlighten me about that one?
Last one came in 014, made your town go dark. Really got out with your wits. You lost your heart. Now you don't know what just hit you. Your whole world's in a spin. You'll rue the day you heard my name, and I keep roaring in, 'cause I'm here, and I'm known throughout the world. I'm a force of nature. I'm a hurricane girl.
Yeah, that one. That one I wrote after a big hurricane hit Austin in 2000. Oh God, I forgot what year it was. Maybe 16.
Right.
I can't remember what year. It was one of those. It was then there was a pretty big hurricane, and I kind of got the idea for that tune, and I'd been just living with the words, and I actually rewrote that a couple of times with different music, and then it just settled into this Elmore James kind of thing, with stops, and I was like, well, there it is, So it's about a woman who just wants to destroy.
Well, that sounds like a hurricane. They all used to be named after females up until a couple of years ago, I think. So yeah.
Exactly, right.
Have you kind of weathered a hurricane since you've been down there?
I actually haven't. I'm always gone for some reason, but we get the tail ends of them coming up from the Gulf Coast all the time.
Right.
So they just had a couple through New Orleans, but they didn't really impact here. But
right, because you're originally from Canada, from what, Ottawa or Vancouver, or not a lot of hurricane action there.
No hurricane action in Ottawa. Zero. So,
But it's also not really known for the blues up there either. What connected you with the blues so that you became?
Yeah, it's not. You'd be surprised. The funny thing is even in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even till the present day, a lot of blues artists have been coming to Canada from the States.
Right.
So I think even Robert Johnson floated through Canada.
Really? Oh, I haven't heard of that.
I think I heard that, but it's when I was coming up, there was all these bands coming up from Chicago, and there was actually really ripe scene. It was really ripe, and there was so much good stuff, and we got to see everybody up in Canada. So we were really exposed to it, and I just fell in love with it, when I was about 15, and I couldn't get it out of my system. I just was fascinated with it, but I really did feel the need to go stateside and come to the States.
Yep.
Especially while that Texas scene was taking off, because I was really aware that there was a new thing happening. It was like really happening at that moment with the Vaughn brothers and the T-Birds and Stevie Ray, and then everything coming out of Austin. So I just became infatuated with it, and made my way down here. Just got the cards to kind of unfold the way I really needed them to.
And of course, you got Jimmy playing on Hurricane Girl. So
yeah, he's fantastic. I love Jimmy to death. I go see him as much as I can. I steal as many tricks from him as I can. I think he's just amazing. I just love him.
Cool. Now, one track I wanted to touch on was "Think It Over." Just the beautiful organ in it. Is that your producer Mike playing the organ there?
producer Mike Flanagan on organ, and I think he only jumped in on a couple of tunes on this. I mean, this album was recorded, like I said, live,
right,
off the floor. We're all in one room. I actually put a little YouTube video on my YouTube site about it if people were curious about how we got these sounds, because people have remarked.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, like that's Mike on that song. He kind of just stepped in a couple of times to play a little organ. Otherwise, it was all the guitar trio.
Right, gotcha. So as a producer, if your guys are live on the floor, there's not a lot of overdubbing and things to do. What was his main function then, other than playing a bit of organ here and there?
His function was to make sure we got the takes.
Right.
And, you know, we don't know. Like when you're in the middle of recording, you don't know. Was that it? Was that the one?
Yep.
So what we would do is maybe do the song a couple of times. And he also made sure that we were staying on track and not getting stale and not getting tired. I mean, just kind of overseeing the whole vibe of it. But recording live like that is a real process. And it'd be interesting to actually just see an interview with Mike talking about how they did that. Cause we're in the midst of recording. I don't really know what him and the engineer are doing, but I know him and Chris Bell, the engineer, are very close, and they work under these circumstances really well. It's like kind of by the seat of your pants. You got to know it's, you know, everything's happening in real time, and there are no overdubs on this record.
Cool.
0.
Right. So what was the vibe like in the studio? Was it stressful? Were you kind of trying to get it all done in the 3 days or whatever, or was it loose or what?
No, we were pretty loose. We had just done Mike's album. Like he has an album called West Texas Blues.
All right.
We did that album, I don't know, a couple months before mine, and it went so smooth, and we did it exactly the same way. It was just really easy. This is what we do. I mean, we play live for a living.
Yep.
We're used to playing in time. We're used to playing solos on the spot. I'm used to singing and playing things and playing rhythm. So it's not like it would be a stretch for some artists who need to track and are used to overdubbing, and there's no right and wrong in this situation, but this is how we work. You know, we're really traditional artists and traditional blues artists.
So you've been playing your guitar for quite a while. Do you still practice a lot? Does it change? Does your playing change? Do you evolve? Do you learn new tricks?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and yes. I practice all the time. I practice a lot. Yeah, I mean, I practice a lot. I apply myself. I was already practicing today. I've got a solo show coming up, opening for Jimmy Vaughn this weekend. And,
nice.
You know, I had to pull everything out. My house is all pulled apart with gear right now. And yeah, I mean, it's a constant, you know, I don't know. I think the people that really are really good, they really think about it a lot and they really work at it. They don't rest on their laurels.
Right.
As soon as you rest on your laurels, you kind of get flabby. So you kind of,
you don't want to get flabby.
Things sharp. Yeah, you don't want to get flabby.
No.
Who wants to see that?
So are you thinking about what you're going to do next? Are you kind of looking ahead?
Oh yeah, I mean, basically we're just touring right now. We're in the midst of this album, and I mean, we're just getting started. So we got another year probably steady touring. And that's it for, you know, and then the next thing.
Well, hopefully you can come down to when you come to Australia next and play in the Byron Bay or whatever, come over to New Zealand and play for us a little bit.
I would love to. I would
cool.
love to come there.
It's got a pretty good Americana scene, so it encompasses the blues and everything. So there's quite a few people into it. So yeah, very good. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Well, spread the word and we'll come down there.
That's what we're doing. All right. Thanks. Have a good day. Okay. Bye-bye.